serious case review was completed to identify which professionals were at fault for the death of Star Hobson. It was clear that the social services team at Bradford City Council had utterly failed this little girl. In May 2022, 8 months after Star's death, the head of the council, Councillor Susan Hinchcliffe, released an apology. Part of it read, quote, "On behalf of the council, I want to say sorry to Star's family, that signs were missed, and that we did not take the action we should have. I will go through the findings of the subsequent report and the learning that it claimed had been implemented and how things would now be completely fine, but I won't bother. This is what I've said in so many videos before, and they're just words that stick in my throat as nothing seems to change. All the words of apology and all the promises of change, pointless. Star Hobson is still dead. Next month would have been her 6th birthday. This highlights to me just how young she was, just how defenceless she was. Her murder was made even more horrific because it came just 3 months after the killing of 6-year-old Arthur Labinjo Hughes, a little boy who was tortured, neglected and beaten to death by his pathetic father and his evil partner, whose cries that no one loved him were caught on camera and which are truly heartbreaking. Whilst this video is primarily about Star Hobson, I want us all to remember not only her, but also Arthur Labinjo Hughes, Victoria Climbié, Peter Connolly, Keanu Williams, Lola James, Logan Mwangi, and so many others. Fly high, little angels. I mentioned the murder of 6-year-old Arthur Labinjo Hughes in the previous section, and the parallels between that horrific case and this one are disturbing, both in terms of the circumstances of his death, but also the profiles of the perpetrators. So Arthur was neglected and abused by his father Thomas Hughes and his partner Emma Tustin, before the latter beat him to death in June 2020. The pair had only been together for 8 months at the time of Arthur's death. As speculated in that video, it was not likely a man would go from a normal, loving father to being complicit in his son's torture and murder in less than a year, and concluded that Tustin simply built on hatred that Hughes already had for his child. She was a pathetic woman, completely dependent on relationships, and she wanted Hughes all to herself. They bonded over the abuse of Arthur, but he was, ultimately, an object that needed to be disposed of so that she could have all of his attention, and eventually Tustin removed him from the picture completely. Reflecting this onto the current case, you have Frankie Smith, a woman who had Star but quickly lost interest in her. She likely loved the attention that having a newborn brought her, but Star needed love and attention, and Smith had no interest in providing this, and her daughter soon became an inconvenience. Smith had a low IQ, yes, but this doesn't absolve her of anything, as far as I'm concerned. She still knew right from wrong, she simply didn't care. I think the greatest influence on Smith was her mother Yvonne, someone she would go out and get pissed with, instead of looking after her daughter. Yvonne's name pops up a few times in reports I've read, but it appears that she knew most of what was going on, including that Savannah Brockhill was a violent and stable thug, but she did nothing. Also notice how Yvonne was not one of the people who called social services. I think this woman's neglectful behaviour is where Frankie Smith's utter indifference to the care of a Star stemmed from. As the weeks went by, Frankie Smith began to despise Star. She was an it, a thing, and then she met Savannah Brockhill, who would use this hatred to her advantage.